8 months along at the moment. They got on, loaded everything that they owned on a Model T pickup truck and moved to Mobile temporarily, and then from Mobile we moved to Fairhope. And we came here then and started school at Organic in 1931. And 8 of Mama's children graduated from the Organic School.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark. You're one of my very favorite students of all time.
Thank you, ma'am.
And now, Elsie, have you got something to add for us?
Before I say anything, now, am I holding this right? The people hear this?
Yeah.
No, yeah, don't force it.
Because I can't tell.
Don't force
Well,
it.
Mrs. Johnson, I want to know, are you going to report to my mother and daddy that I would not get out of the magnolia tree and sat through the class?
Let's just keep it between you and me, okay, Elsie?
That's exactly what I thought she would say. That or say, come on, Elsie, let's go over here in the kitchen and get a good drink of water. I was invited to join a group this morning and share some of my memories of organic school. And they kept referring to me and introduced me as the speaker. Well, that's the one thing I did not learn at organic school. I did not learn public speaking, but I did learn to share. And so I shared many thoughts and feelings about my years at organic school. Our mother was the first woman teacher in Theodore, Alabama, at the time Mark was telling about Mom and Daddy. You know, it's really funny how your mind takes you back over the things that at one time you didn't know was very important, and then another time, boy, you wish you'd known they were important. But the thing I remember so much about going to organic school is that it wasn't that I'm getting up and going to school this morning, I got to get up there before the 3rd bell rings at least. It was, hey, I wonder what we're going to do today. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Are we going to walk down in the gully and to get the clay out of the gully to take back up to do ceramics? Or what will we do? And does it look like Miss Johnson's listening? Because I'll tell you a secret. We would even sometimes misbehave just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit, to get sent to her office, because we always knew she was going to just embrace us with nothing but positive, loving thought and concern. And really more than SCHOOL, organic was LIFE. That's what we did. We went there and we lived our daily experience. And I guess if I was going to say, well, how I benefited the very most was being content of who I am, but also wanting to do the best I can do. And as I say, it was just I taught at organic school probably about 26 or 27 years intermittently. That is in between having 6 children. It was always an interesting thing to me. One little story I think of particularly. It was interesting to me, most of the boys did not want to do folk dancing. Folk dancing is what I taught. But when I was a student, most of the boys didn't like the folk dancing to start with. And it was so great. And then when I came along later on as a teacher, it was so great to see these kids, the young boys and all, and they were going to hold hands, you know. And then in the middle of the year, what is that? Is it folk dancing? We're going to go folk dancing. Hey, and they learned to love it. Well, I don't know if Ms. Johnson shared with you one of her sayings, I guess you'd say, is that, you know, you cannot expect all children to jump over a 3-foot high jump pole. There are going to be some that sail over it. There's going to be one that has to go around it, and there will be a couple that have to go under it. But that was the thing that allowed each of us students to grow. That's what let us grow, because we knew that as long as if I go around it, or even if I go under it, but I do it in a way that is the best I could do, then that's okay. And you know, I experience that every day in my life with our large family that we have and everything. That if I just do my best, I don't have to regret if I made the wrong choice or if I said the wrong comment. If it was the best I could do, but look in there and find out if it's the best, and that's what she did the best.
Thank you so much, Elsie.
I'd like to add just one little item, and that is that this is the 83rd year that the Arnold family has been a part of the school, because there's a couple of them still who are teaching at the school, and Patrick Mordecai is in the kindergarten this year.
Wow. 83 years. That's quite a tradition. I'm so proud of my students, Mordecai, Mark Arnold, and Elsie Arnold. They exemplify to me my organic dream for all children, and that is that they have a sound, accomplished body, a sympathetic, intelligent mind, but most of all, a sweet, sincere spirit. And these two people certainly exemplify that aspect of my dream. Now I'd like to share with you my friend Dean Mosier, who used to be a teacher at the organic school at one time, and he's going to come forward and share some of his memories of the organic school. Dean?
Are you Maggie or Marietta Johnson?
I'm Marietta or Aunt Mettie, whatever you want to call me.
Yes, ma'am. We had a Reverend Schmidt at our church once did a sermon about as we hold hands in church, we're really going back to the very beginning of Christianity. Because when you think about your grandparents who are gone, or their great-grandparents and such, and so on, really we've been holding hands through generations all the way back. And when I came to Fairhope in the early 70s, I found out I just fell into a wonderful world. And that world existed. First place I lived in Fairhope was the Cane cottages, which was, the architectural style was called chicken coop. And it was behind where the Methodist church is now. And guess who lived behind that was Mama Dot and Kenny Kane. And Kenny, of course, was Marietta Johnson's adopted son. And when I started teaching at Organic, they sort of pulled me into this and enveloped me. And I came here to study with Cleveland Woodward, the great artist, one of, I think, the finest artist outside my father-in-law who's ever lived in Fairhope. And with Cleveland's Coffee Club, I got to meet Gail Rowe and Marvin Nichols and Paul Gaston and other people who had that connectivity all the way back to the beginning. But in teaching organic, and it was on the old campus in the Arts and Crafts building, which is gone now, there was a table. And the table, I fell in love with the table. And I swapped an old table saw for it because they were going to throw out the table. And I brought it home and I scoured down the top of all the initials of the students that had been carved into the top over the years, and I scraped off about a wheelbarrow full of gum from underneath it, which lightened the table considerably. And after I got it done, Kenny saw the table and he said, "Do you know about that table?" And I said, "No, sir, I don't." When Kenny was a young man, he came home one night, and he went up to his bed, and there was a man in his bed. And he turned around and went back down to Marietta Johnson, and he said, "Mama, there's a man in my bed." She said, "Oh dear, that's Clarence Darrow. He's come here to rest for a few days." This was right after the monkey trials. And interestingly enough, my father-in-law, Craig Sheldon, was taken to the monkey trials in Dayton, Tennessee. Certainly one of the preeminent court battles of the 20th century. And so Darrow came here after. He had a sister here, Mrs. Stringfellow, I understand. And she had a speech impediment. And he brought her here because he wanted to find a place that would accept her for her differences, not ostracize her because of her differences. And she came to Fairhope, and she lived here the rest of her life and died here and was buried in a cemetery. But Darrow came to the organic school because he loved Marietta Johnson. She was a dear friend. Lydia Newton Cummings. Upton Sinclair, after he wrote The Jungle, which created the Fair Food Act, or the Pure Food Act by Teddy Roosevelt, who said, Sinclair might be a nut, but by God, we've got to have pure food in this country. And Sinclair came here under death threat and brought his son to the organic school because he believed in Marietta Johnson. And we had John Dewey, who came here, and he wrote Schools of Tomorrow, one of the seminal works of American education, published in 1921, and he spent an entire chapter on Marietta Johnson and how important. So Marietta Johnson helped transition this country into the modern era of education, and a brilliant job of it. But when all of these people came to Fairhope, they sat at that table. And Kenny came in and told me that was the table that was in the school home. And I'm glad I rescued it before they threw it out and have restored it. And as to take the connectivity full circle, when I was writing the book on Fairhope with my daughter, any surface is fair game in our house. I don't know what your house is, but I was laying out the whole text of the book on top of that table because I needed the room. And my daughter walked in and said, "Dad, you realize what you're laying the book of Fairhope about on the table that you're on." And so it's a cherished part of our family, and we're going to donate it to the museum someday. But I'm going to cherish it just a little bit more. But I love Fairhope. We all, I feel, always have. We have a debt that we owe to the very beginnings to try to keep that spirit of eclectic craziness and free thinking that made us what we are. And thank you very much. And it's an honor to be here.
Dean, as he said, taught at the organic school and has remained a faithful supporter of the school and of the museum, which I don't want to forget to tell you a little bit about. Excuse me. There is a museum dedicated to my work, and I hope that you'll all make a point to visit there sometime soon. It's located at 10 South School Street, just across the street on the Faulkner Community College campus, which was the original organic school campus. As I said, it started out as Mr. Shua Mann's 6.5-acre donation and Mr. William Stimpson's 3.5-acre donation. So we had 10 full acres of campus for our little organic school students. Our museum is in the back room of the Bell Building, the original schoolhouse that faces School Street. And I would love Maggie, the director of the museum, Maggie Mosteller-Timbes, who most people call Maggie these days. Maggie would love for you to come and visit, and she'll show you all the treasures that she has there. And I know she'll be excited to hear that Dean promised the table that Marietta Johnson and Clarence Darrow and all John Dewey and Mr. Sinclair all sat around and had coffee and visited. It'll just be a special addition to the museum. Recently, the museum published a small paperback book that is a combination of, direct quotes that were taken from the two books that I wrote during my lifetime, Youth in a World of Men and 30 Years with an Idea. The compilation of these direct quotes this work was done lovingly by two generous-spirited members of our board of directors at the museum, Jan and Don Sawyer. And if they're here, I'd like for them to stand up, please, and be recognized. I don't know whether Jan and Don are here or not, but we do thank them. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Don. What an undertaking. The little book is available on the back table here tonight for a $5 donation. Now, if you don't have $5, that's okay. Just, we'll use the honor system. There's a donation jar there, and you can throw your $5 in there and take a book. But as I said, if you don't have $5, take one anyway. And it'll give you an excuse to come by the museum and see Maggie, and you can pay her then. The museum has those books available at all times, as well as a couple of other books Mrs. Johnson wrote that I want to mention somebody special in the audience right now who did the work to combine the two books that she wrote into one, which the museum published in 1991, and we call it Organic Education, Teaching Without Failure. Millie Coles, who was the Dean of Students at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and who is one of my most ardent supporters and cheerleaders, and who I love dearly. Millie, would you please stand? Where are you, Millie? Did we see Millie anywhere? Oh, there you are. Thank you, Millie. Millie did that beautiful work, and the preface that she wrote, we have included in the new little selections of quotations. So you'll get to read her beautiful prose there. Beginning on February the 21st, the little paperback will be available at Page and Palette, and they are hosting an event for us that afternoon. It's a Saturday from 2 to 4, and you are all invited. Now, I think we have a few more minutes. I think we have enough time. The museum several years ago produced a little 7-minute video that I want to share with you now to give you a better visual understanding of what the school was like in the early years and what it's like today. So Cheryl, if we can start the video, that would be just great.
In 1907, here in the little town of Fairhope, Alabama, it was on this 10-acre site that Marietta Johnson founded one of the first progressive schools in the country. Today, the same site serves as the Fairhope campus of Faulkner Community College. The historic Bell Building, which was the original organic school, now houses the Marietta Johnson Museum.
Good morning, and welcome to the Organic School. My name is Marietta Johnson, but my students call me Aunt Mettie, so you can call me Aunt Mettie if you like. Each one of your children is a very special part of an exciting experimental school that I started in 1907 right here in Fairhope, Alabama. And my dream for your children today is the same as it was then, that their school provide for them the opportunity to enjoy a sound, accomplished body, a sympathetic, intelligent mind, and a sweet, sincere spirit. That's what I mean when I say organic education. Now come on in and I'll tell you a little bit more about our school. By the time your children leave the organic school, I hope they've learned one very important lesson, and that is the love of learning, simply for the sake of learning. Not to please their teachers, not to outshine their fellow classmates, or even make you parents proud of them. they will want to study and learn simply for the joy that it brings them to discover the secrets that nature and life have waiting for them. In fact, at the organic school, we don't have tests or grades or even homework in the earlier life stages. Aunt Mettie believes strongly that your children should enjoy their childhood and that their playtime is just as important as their class time. So as long as they come to school on time, and I'm very serious about that point, and as long as they do their very best, when the time comes, they will easily pass to the next life stage. Now, as I said, the children will not have any homework in the earlier life stages, but I will be sending some home for you parents. And it's very important that you understand what we will be doing here at school and be a part of this great adventure. So for your homework, I ask that you read something to your children each night and ask them if they have any questions about what you have read. And while your children are at the organic school, I want them to ask me questions about whatever it is that interests them or simply causes them to wonder. It is very important to me that our children keep their sense of wonder and their love of learning their entire lives. After all, education is life and not simply a preparation for life. While they are very young, I will be most concerned with providing your children with ample opportunity to enjoy nature. At the organic school, they will have the freedom to see the world around them, not as their teachers say they should, but the way they see it, with their unique, childlike eyes of wonder. In the past, we did not focus on how many books our students could read before they turned age 7, but their teachers read to them each day, and by the time their little eyes and nervous systems were sufficiently developed, they were reading with ease. Today, each of our students reads whenever he or she is ready. At the organic school, your children will learn folk dances and how to make all kinds of things with their hands, like baskets and clay pots. As they get older, they'll have the chance to work in the wood shop, where former students have built sailboats as well as classroom tables and chairs. Former students have even made beautiful silver jewelry. In fact, today I'm wearing some of the pieces made by my former students years ago. Seniors even had the freedom to design their own class rings. Some were round, some were oval like this one, some were square, and some even had a stone like this pretty one made by Betsy Sable, who graduated from the organic school in 1947 and went on to make her living as a silversmith in Fairhope. Over the years, Betsy taught the art of making silver jewelry to our students at the organic school.
There are many examples of fine silver jewelry and other works of art created by former organic school students at the Marietta Johnson Museum, where visitors are always welcome.
It is always a joy for us here at the Organic School to watch your children change and grow over the years. Each of them is made with a special purpose, and it is our job at the Organic School to help them make that discovery.
The Marietta Johnson School of Organic Education continues to serve the children of Fairhope today. Using Marietta Johnson's progressive philosophy of education, the school continues to nurture the minds, bodies, and spirits of its students. The 4-acre campus is located on Pecan Avenue, just off of South Section Street. Financial aid is available and inquiries can be made by calling the school's director at 251-928-9347. The Marietta Johnson Museum is located at 10 South School Street in the west wing of the historic Bell Building on the original Organic School campus, which is now Fairhope's Faulkner Community College. The museum is open to the public Monday through Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. or by special appointment. You can reach the museum director at 251-990-8601.
As I look into the future of this special little school, I can see that for years to come, even after I'm gone, my spirit will live on at the Organic School. Its dedicated teachers will continue to nurture the minds, bodies, and spirits of its students. helping each one discover his own unique potential. That was kind of fun. Now, before I close and open the evening up to questions, I'd like to ask that any other organic school students or faculty that may be present here tonight, please come forward. I'm thinking that our audience may have some questions, not only for me, but for you as well. And Mary Lois, if I flounder a little bit, I hope you'll step in and give me the right answer. My memory is not as good as it once was, and I appreciate any help from any former student or faculty member tonight on any of these questions. So is Frankie Laraway here tonight? I thought I saw Frankie. Frankie, come on up. Don't be shy. Come on forward, everybody. Graham Timbes, married to our director, Maggie Mosteller-Timbes. Mary Lois, Timbes Ads Head. Former director Linda Gibson, are you here tonight, Linda? And Pam Jones, our current director of the Organic School, whose talented husband, Tom Jones, made his first piece of pottery when he was a student at the Organic School, and has gone on to become very successful as a potter here in Fairhope, and has supported his beautiful family all these years on what he learned at the Organic School. Now, if there's anybody else that's a member of the organic family that I did not call by name, please feel free to come forward. Oh, Flo, I'm glad to see you. Frankie. I honor each one of you, and thank you as well as all the members of our audience here tonight for just allowing me to share my memories of the good old days at the Organic School. Now, if you have a question for any one of these wonderful people up here, I'm going to introduce them by name, and if you will come forward, I'll hand you the microphone and you can ask them the question.
And I have a question for the young lady on the end. Did you go to college when you left Marietta Johnson?
The question was, did this young lady, who is an Arnold, I believe,
Elodia.
this is, and introduce yourself, Elodia.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Elodia Arnold. I am the youngest child of Claude and Diane Arnold. And Claude is Mordecai's oldest brother. And I graduated from the Organic School in 1996 in the 8th grade. At that time, the school is where it is presently on Pecan, and it only went through the 8th grade. And my Uncle Mark was the school director at the time. So I had a wonderful experience at the school. I believe there were around 120 students at that time. I started in 6th grade and attended 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And it was a great, great experience. I did eventually go to college, not right away.
So what I was getting at was, how was the organic form of schooling? Did it help or hinder you when you went into high school and college?
It has helped me tremendously in life, not just in college. One of the things that you get from organic is you actually learn how to use your hands. You learn how to think. You learn how to be able to problem solve, which is something that so many of our children do not get today. I have 2 children. I have a 7-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. The 7-year-old is in Spanish Word Elementary, which is a wonderful school. It's actually the primary reason why I moved to Spanish Word, because I felt like the Fairhope Elementary School was too large, and I wanted a smaller school. But one thing that distresses me is that they are now using an iPad, and essentially all my child is learning how to do is how to point. She's not learning how to actually think for herself. She's not out there experiencing life, growth. It's just not happening anymore. And that is, I was so prepared for that with organic. I can't even really begin to explain the differences. It's just unreal. So, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any hands? Well, let's introduce some of these. Oh, you see? Gosh, I'm sorry. Well, you know I'm 150 years old. Crying out loud, give me a break.
What is the tuition rate at organic?
That would be me.
That looks like a question for Pam, our new director. Pam Jones, you want to answer that question?
I will. We are on a sliding fee scale based on income. We have anywhere from $305 a month to about $550 a month, and it's based on your income and based on your family size. Is there anything else you want to know? Come by and see me. We take visitors all the time.
Thanks, Pam. I want to introduce Barbara Arnold, Barbara Hoffman Arnold. And she was a student, you were a student back when, Barbara?
Hi. Hi. My family moved here from Virginia, and my mother taught us.
Can't hear you.
Michael, closely mouth.
My mother taught us when we lived in a motel for 2.5 months because we were determined to live downtown Mobile, and my father said, no, we're moving to Fairhope. We went to public school from April, half of April and May, and the last month or so of school. And my sister and brother and I had a horrible experience there. I won't go into that. And my mother said, my children will never go to that school again. And found someone whose children went to organic school. Girl Good was a piano teacher and things like that around here. And introduced her to organic school, and we started there. My brother in the fifth grade. I was 8th grade, my sister was 6th grade, my brother was 4th grade. And we flourished there. That was the strangest school I had seen. And yet, I ended up graduating from there in 1959. I went to college. I got a degree in speech therapy. 13 years later, I went back and got a master's in speech language pathology. I ended up teaching at organic at one time for a period of time, and I taught folk dancing, I taught English, I taught art, I taught. I remember Uncle Mock said, we have to go do crafts. People are complaining about taking their stuff home. Because I was teaching art by taking them outside, looking at the trees, which side is the sun, you know, that kind of thing. So they could see what they're doing. And then I had to talk crafts. I taught typing. I was a librarian. The thing I enjoyed the most was to teach folk dancing. That was an experience to me to learn folk dancing. I was very good at the Mexican hat dance. Even dancing in the street. That was fun. And we ended up doing very well with, I had all grades in garden up through 12th grade. Thoroughly enjoyed them. They had to learn to dance together, understand the music, and Mrs. Miney Gaston was our accompanist, and she would work crossword puzzles in between playing for us. It was wonderful. And we ended up taking the group to White Springs, Florida for a Florida Book Festival. And as far as I know, we haven't been back since. That was fantastic. I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you, Barbara. I would be remiss if I didn't introduce to you Maggie Mosteller-Timbes, the director of the museum's handsome and talented husband, Graham Timbes. and his sister, Mary Lois Timbes, Ad's head, who just flew in last night from the frozen tundra of the north. Welcome to Fairhope, Mary Lois. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think we've said it all.
Thank you. And Nancy Jennings. I'm sorry, I've got to introduce Nancy to everybody before we close tonight. I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks the Fairhope Public Library for this lovely auditorium. Thank you to Savannah Wilson and the Fairhope Single Tax Corporation for including the Marietta Johnson lecture tonight and for giving me the opportunity to share my memories from my good old days of the late 1800s and early 1900s. And last but not least, I must thank my precious daughters, Kristen and Lauren Carroll. I know they're here somewhere on the back row. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. And I see my sister, Nancy Mosteller-Hoffman, and her husband, Roy. Thank y'all for being here. And thank you for thank everybody.